7 is out. All day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond to me. Respond to me
you?
how you would respond to me.
The first question I'd ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services, yeah.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to AM Prime on WSN. I'm Naomi McNish. So this morning we are talking Tobago. Tobago has received its largest ever budgetary allocation, $3.72 billion, accounting for 6.3% of the national budget. It's a historic move that not only meets but exceeds the Tobago House of Assembly's request for funding, marking a sharp shift from previous years when the island's appeals were consistently undercut. So this morning we are talking with Dr. Faith Brebno. She's going to unpack what does this mean for Tobago and let's get into the conversation. What is the best way Tobago can allocate these funds? There were a number of things that came up since the budget, which I would also like to get into. Good morning, Dr. Brebno. Welcome to AM Prime.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's an honor being here so that we could chat about what this 6.3% really means for the people of Tobago. I'm excited about this.
Yes. So let's start with the headline, $3.72 billion for Tobago, which we all know is the biggest allocation ever. From your perspective, what message is that, is the government sending, about this move? What does that really mean? What does it mean to you for Tobago?
So I'm glad you started there because what you have highlighted really is a shift in perspective of the government of Trinidad and Tobago because what we have experienced, so I have been in executive, or we have been in the executive since December 2021. And what we experienced at that time was really a central government that did not understand and certainly did not respect the Tobago House of Assembly the way we respect and we understood the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So what we are seeing now really is a shift in that perspective where we finally have a central government that understands that the Tobago House of Assembly through the THA Act is responsible for the policies and implementation of key services and key activities on the island, and the government is willing to partner with us to ensure that that happens. So So what you are seeing is really a shift in perspective where there seems to now be mutual respect, mutual understanding, this mutual idea of us working hand in hand. Because the reality is, if Tobago works, then Trinidad and Tobago works. And we are happy that the government of Trinidad and Tobago is finally appreciating that, and this government of Trinidad and Tobago is appreciating this Tobago House of Assembly.
Right. So I saw the minority leader, Calvin Morris. He would have said that the budget is seasoned with deceit and deception, quotes, right? Arguing that the development component or the part that drives growth has actually fallen to $201 million. Is that a valid concern of his? Or how valid is that concern?
So the minority leader, you know, he's the one using the word deception because that is what the PNM has been doing for the longest while. So, you know, guilty mind needs no accuser kind of thing. So let me explain why what he's saying is not an accurate representation of what has been happening. And I want to use two very specific terms. For the last 4 years, while we were, the Tobago House of Assembly was managed by the TPP, while the central government was managed by the PNM, we recognized that we were getting a thing that we call in tie-up money. What does that mean? It really means that we may have been getting access to resources, but those resources were not usable. What do I mean by that? And I could give very clear examples. We had an opportunity to build the road that is now leading us in essence to the new airports. Even though the resources were available to do it, we've had several injunctions being placed against us actually doing the road. So EMA would run in, landowners would suddenly find their voice and go to the High Court so that we could stop the project and so forth. Let me give another example, and this is an example from my division, where there was a UN agency that was willing to give us money. So this was not coming from the coffers of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The UN agency was willing to give us money, and all we needed was a letter from the government of Trinidad and Tobago to say, yeah, go ahead, give the Tobago House of Assembly that little money. It was about 50,000 US, not even a lot of money. And they refused to do that. As a matter of fact, they stopped the project. So what the PNM has been doing is really tying up whatever resources were allocated to the Tobago House of Assembly. And we're calling it plain and simple tie-up money. PNM money was tie-up money. What we are experiencing now, though, is what we will call smart money. Now, what does that mean? It means resources within an environment that is workable. Resources within an environment that actually allows us to push the kind of development that we want to do, that we've been trying to do for the longest time. Resources that is encouched in policies, in laws, in partnerships that actually work and that actually work for us. So even though the actual dollar figure may be the same or may be similar, what we can actually do with it now is vastly different because of the environment that we now find ourselves with a central government that seems to be respecting and honoring the wishes of the Tobago House of Assembly. So here's the one, and the PNM is the one that is truly being disingenuous, because what they are stating is, in essence, even if we had gotten 20% of the budget, for example, with the way they were functioning, we would not have been able to use the 20% of the budget because they would have been the ones tying it up and not allowing us to use it in the way that we should. So with this collaboration and with this type of relationship that is mutually respectful, we are able to use the resources that we have at our hands now for things that we were not able to use it for before because the PNM was just trying to tie us up. And I make no bones about that. I am not apologizing because I am, as Secretary with responsibility for health, wellness, and social protection, and Deputy Chief Secretary, I can give a myriad of examples of when they did this to us.
Can we look at, breaking down or when we're looking to assess Tobago's, true level of support when it comes to, the funding, can we look at the recurrent and development expenditure?
So we have to look at, we are now in a situation where we have to look at both. As a matter of fact, we are finally in a situation where we can look at the three areas where we are able to spend money. You are right, recurrent really refers to the things that are the usual run-of-the-mill. These are the things like we use to pay wages, to pay our electricity bill, to run the programs that we have been running for a while. But let me stick a pin in there as well, because, for example, let me go back to the division that I manage, health, wellness, and social protection. A big chunk of what we do in the division of health, wellness, and social protection, and particularly the social protection component, has to do with the provision of grants and support to people on the ground. The food cards, the rental assistance, if your house got in a fire and we need to help you buy a fridge and a stove, that kind of stuff. That money actually comes from the recurrent side. So the fact that we've been able to get increases in the recurrent side of the budget is actually critical for a division like mine, because that is where the bulk of the social protection support comes from, the recurrent side of the budget. And even though we have not delved into the specific details about what every vote is just yet, because we are going into retreat shortly, getting increases in those areas is absolutely critical. We also got increases for the Tobago Regional Health Authority in the recurrent side. That is where we pay for the doctors and the nurses and everything that we need to run the hospital, and we're doing some revamping of what we're doing there. So increases in the recurrent side is absolutely critical, and we are happy for that, because that is where we're doing quite a bit of the work. You are right. The development side is where we usually do capital or new projects. So having a slight increase or staying at the same level with the DP side is one where we are able to use it more efficiently now, because of what I explained before in terms of the smart money versus the tie-up money that the P&M keep talking about. Because it is now smart money, even though it is similar to what we have, or maybe even a little less than what we had before, we can now use it more efficiently because it is classified as smart money. But the third type of resources, which we are finally, as a Tobago House of Assembly, finally able to speak to with some confidence, really is the resources that will be spent in Tobago on behalf of the people of Tobago that may be sitting within other ministries. Let me see, this is the first year we can actually speak about projects where we are collaborating as a Tobago House of Assembly and a central government, where we could say, yes, we know for a fact that $1 million that is in education, or that $1 million or $10 million that is in health, will actually be spent in Tobago, because we have had the conversations, we've had the planning meetings, we've collaborated to say, well, yes, this is a larger project that the Ministry of Health, for example, is doing. And I'll give a specific example. The cath labs that the Minister of Health keeps talking about, that he wants to develop cath labs throughout the country. Re-energizing or refurbishing the cath lab that we have at the Scarborough General Hospital is actually one of those projects that fit within the budget of the larger Ministry of Health to do. So, and this is the very, very, very first time since I've become secretary where I can speak of specific examples like that, where I know the minister and I will be working together to do this thing for Tobago, and it is a very tangible development that would be happening on the island.
Right. When we speak, you mentioned and you kept repeating, the smart money instead of tie-up money. And when we speak about that and how the THA would effectively manage the money given, the Tobago Chamber, he would have spoken, he said he welcomed the funds, right? But he said with transparency and value for money. Do you think that the THA is ready to be transparent to Tobagonians? Because I believe the Tobagonians will hold the THA accountable, of course, for this large amount So do you think TH is ready to manage this effectively?
Certainly, we have been ready and we have been transparent. At no point have we ever said, no, we are not willing to provide the information. At no point have we said that we are not going to account. As a matter of fact, I think that this administration has spent more time being transparent, being open about what we have been doing and maybe what we have not done. And again, it goes back to use of time. Because we've had to spend so much of our time and so much of our effort fighting, in essence, state agencies that seemed to have been working against us, actively working against us. We did not spend as much time as we should have speaking to the public about all of the good that we have been doing. But when I think back of all of the things that we've been able to accomplish, even with state agencies basically on our necks, we have actually done a really, really good job. And I think that we are now going to be in a better position where we can actually breathe a little bit, where we can do the job that the people of Tobago overwhelmingly voted for us to do, and we can keep pushing that. So we have been accountable, we have been transparent, we have been saying to the people, this is what we are doing, and this is why this is important. But now we are going to be in a better or a more welcoming environment to do that for the people of Tobago.
Do you think that the THA will welcome the idea of creating or publishing a breakdown of how every dollar is allocated?
We do that actually. So we do that right now. So it is not necessarily published on like a website, but when the auditors come in and the auditors go through, they do that continually. One of the things that we are going to do with this new with the e-procurement platform that is now available is that you will see, for example, when contracts are given out and who the contracts are given to and so forth. And those things that it's government money, it's not my money, it's not my bank account. So I need to be afraid of who knows what it is. It is government money. And as a matter of fact, I have even said to my staff, I know that once a document is a government document and is in a file, it is a public document. I expect it to be publicized because that's what we do with government funds. We have to be accountable. So we do not have a challenge with that one bit, and it is something that we've actually been working towards. So let me give you another example. What we've been doing is really trying to manage a system that was almost set up for us to fail. And let me give you an example. If you have a bank account and you have an overdraft with your bank, as soon as you put back money in there, the bank takes the overdraft fee, right?
Right.
That is something that we have been contending with in the Tobago House of Assembly, where because of how the monies have been given to us, the Tobago House of Assembly Act basically says that for every financial year, there are 4 quarters. Each quarter, the Tobago House of Assembly should be getting its allocation for that quarter in a large lump sum at the beginning of the quarter. So for example, the quarter goes from January, February, March. In January, we should be getting all of the monies that we need to function for January, February, and March. That has not been happening. As a matter of fact, there were days when you speak to the secretary with responsibility for finance, where she says, I don't know when the next check coming from. I don't know when it coming. And that has been a problem over the last 4 years that we've experienced. What has that done though? It means that when we need to pay for critical things or we need to ensure that salaries are paid or whatever, we have to go into the overdraft facility at the bank. What does that mean? It means that when we now get the money, whenever we get it, the bank taking the overdraft fee. So the government, for example, may have given a check of $100 million, but when the bank takes out their overdraft fee, what we actually have is probably $95 million because the bank took their $5 million overdraft. So we are always trying to play catch up with that. This year, for the very, very first time, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, for the very first time since we've been in government, at the end of the financial year, we have to do a kind of balancing. In the Tobago House of Assembly, we have to go into our revenue collection section and determine how much taxes we actually collect, you know, all of the different things that people pay taxes for in Tobago. And when we figure out what that figure is, we then say to the government, okay, we've collected this much taxes, so all you owe us this much money because this is what the appropriation was for the year. This last financial year was the very, very first time that the government simply cut us a check for the figure that they were supposed to cut us a check for. So we were getting late monies for the last how many years? The monies were coming at the wrong time and late, so we having to deal with the overdraft. And at the end of the financial year, the P&M tie-up money would not give us the money that we actually were owed until this financial year. For the very first time, the government cut the full check and said, here, Tobago House of Assembly, this is how much we owe you. That is an example of smart money again, and that is what we are now really excited about, because we, again, have a government that seems to understand and willing to work with us.
Right. Can you verify if Tobago has a lot of debt to be paid off beforehand? I mean, when it comes to various arrears, these things before beginning new projects?
So when we came in December 2021, we did not realize. So let me give a little history. During the entire year of 2021, we had what was classified as a 6-6 split, where there was no government of the Tobago House of Assembly. There was just an executive council that was the holdover executive council from the P&M from before. When we came into government in December 2021, we realized that there was, and it seemed like every time we did the calculation, the figure ballooned. There was at least $1 billion worth of debt. Most of it was accrued by the Ansel Dennis holdover government the year before, because they were giving out contracts, they were doing what they want. They were the most irresponsible government that I have ever seen when we look at the data. We have been trying to balance off paying off that debt and still doing development for the island, which, as you could see, if you come in with $1 billion in the hole, again, tie-up money, P&M tie-up money, then it is difficult to even start developing, to even start moving forward. But we've had to balance it. We've been paying the contractors slowly and surely, but we've been working towards ensuring that we move forward and we don't just spend all of our money on debt. We are going to continue doing that for this financial year, where we will keep paying the debt that we met, keep paying some of the debt that we have accrued, because we have been accruing debt as well. Of course, not as irresponsibly as they have done, because what they did was just ridiculous. But we are doing that balancing act, and that is what we are going to go into the retreat shortly to determine exactly what are the new projects we will jump onto, how we will prioritize, how we will shift around the money if we need to.
Right. And on that, where would you say Tobago should begin or immediately prioritize? Where should the priorities lie?
So we have several. We've recognized that one of our challenges is that the Tobago House of Assembly is the single largest component of the economy of Tobago, and we needed to move that. And I'm glad you said that I'm glad that you mentioned having a conversation with the chamber, because we have been actively trying to ensure that we could build the private sector on the island, because that is what we need, a thriving private sector that is able to push the economy. And a lot of our policies are geared towards pushing the private sector. So one of the biggest projects that we are really excited about this year is finally developing what we've called, well, we kind of wanted to call it the Tobago Development Bank, but we can't use the word bank because that has a specific meaning in Trinidad and Tobago and in law and econ and so forth. So what we have is the Tobago Development Fund, where we are in essence amalgamating all of our small grants, our larger funding mechanisms to allow the Tobago private sector to come in and say, hey, we would like a grant from the THA, we would like a loan from the THA, we want to do like venture capital from the THA to allow those companies to build and develop and therefore increase the capacity and increase the strength of the private sector. And we've been working really closely with the chamber and the other agencies to do that. So that is one area that we are definitely going to push and definitely going to focus on, pushing that private sector investment, to THA investing in private sector. Another area has to do with human development, and a huge chunk of what we are going to do is really rolling out, ensuring that our people have the capacity to do what we need them to do, and that they have the capacity to stand up in 2025, in a world that is in 2025, when in fact quite a bit of what we've been doing, the processes we've been using, is really laxed or really a little bit behind. So we are doing that. On the side of health specifically, I have been focused for the last 3.5, 4 years on ensuring that the health system, the Tobago Regional Health Authority, has the kind of capacity to diagnose and treat. So we've been spending money on quite a number of these huge machines, you know, like the CT scans. We've been spending money on ensuring that we have dialysis chairs, and doing that kind of development. We are rethinking how we do cancer care and working through actually building out an oncology center in an area, in a property that we are acquiring next to the hospital, and doing those types of, you know, large scale services. That is what we've been focusing on. So those are some of our priorities. But as I said before, we have to go into the retreat where we all come together and collectively agree as a Tobago House of Assembly. These are the top 10 projects, for example, that we are doing, and we will work through and almost share the money to figure out how to get that done.
Right. So apart from those that you just mentioned, the budget would have also announced direct flights, new hotel developments, and the opening of the A&R Robinson Airport Terminal. So, and these are all geared toward tourism. Do you think that, you know, this would be enough to kickstart Tobago's economy moving forward, or would it continue to make, or, you know, put the island at risk of over-relying on tourism again?
So we welcome relying on tourism. As a matter of fact, we're happy that these things were announced. As a matter of fact, you know, now that this government is here, we are finally able to get some information about what is happening with the airport. You would never believe that an entire airport was being built on the island of Tobago, and the Chief Secretary, probably the first time the Chief Secretary went on the compound was when Dr. Rowley and they had their what is it, the practical completion ceremony that they had a couple months ago. The level of disrespect, it was unheard of. So now we can actually actively work to ensure that these things fit in and that they work for the people of Tobago. Having airlift again is critical. I have heard my colleagues, for example, speaking about going to trade shows where we are talking about airlifts and bringing people in and bringing flights in and so forth. And after the Tobago House of Assembly negotiates with a particular company or particular airline, the government of Trinidad and Tobago simply needed to continue and follow through with signing the paperwork to finalize it, and they refused to do that. Again, tie up money. That's all PNN was doing, tying up our resources. But now we have the opportunity to really, really work on these things together. And that is the key thing, working on these things together, because we are the ones on the ground. We are the ones who understand what we need, and we simply need the support to do it.
I know when you mentioned working closely with the private sector to build that relationship, do you all have any plans, or even previously had any plans to, you know, boost the small businesses, young entrepreneurs, youths even? What are some of the things, if you know, or if you can share now, that are in the works hoping to unfold in the coming months, years?
Certainly. So yes. So when we spoke about the Tobago Development fund, and I have to remember not to say bank, the Tobago Development Fund, that actually is going to be available to even the smallest of businesses. As a matter of fact, what we are targeting are the small and medium enterprises. That is what we are targeting to lift them up. As it relates to as it relates to youth development and so forth, that is something that we've actually been working through, where we are using a two-pronged approach. The Secretary with responsibility for education has been actively working through, for example, creating a Tobago-centric curriculum that allows our young people all the way from preschool coming up to ensure that they learn the things that are absolutely necessary for them to learn now. So what we've been doing before is just using the curriculum that was used nationally, but because the Tobago House of Assembly, through the Tobago House of Assembly Act, has the ability to create our own curriculum, we have been working on a curriculum that really reflects the Tobago spirit and the Tobago feeling and the Tobago way of doing things, ensuring that it is also modern, and that is what we will be rolling out shortly within our schools. So we are looking at developing the island really, really holistically from the bottom up, from the youngest coming all the way up, to ensure that they can actually get into the job market, that they can be businesses and they business people, and that they can do what they need to do to help us develop the island.
Now, I have a follow-up question for that, but put a pin in it for now, because I wanted to mention, I know a lot of the conversations previously would have centered around autonomy. That word has been really just used, and it was a big part of the conversations when speaking about Tobago. So when we look at this allocation, in your view, does this bring Tobago closer to some sort of fiscal autonomy? Even the things that you all have been wanting, and to be standalone and independent, or does it, or do you think it would still reinforce that dependency on the central government? Because obviously, if this fund is not used properly, then you all will still require help from the central government. But is it that you see this as Tobago finally one step toward the autonomy that you all have been asking for?
Yes. So the fact that we have a Tobago House of Assembly is actually proof that Tobago has been pushing for autonomy for we are now 45 years or so within the Tobago House of Assembly. So this again, it goes back to us being honest about what we say versus what we do. Yeah. The Tobago House of Assembly has been pushing for autonomy, and I just want to give one slight correction. The vast majority of us want to ensure that we keep the country known as Trinidad and Tobago as a country together. So independence is not necessarily something that we are looking for. And I will dare say we will only go down the road of talking about independence if we continue to not be treated with respect. But it seems like we have made the shift in that regard. So this allocation, with the kind of collaboration that we are having with the central government, is actually one that is getting us closer to the kind of autonomy that we are talking about. The kind of autonomy that we are talking about requires us having legislative abilities to do certain things. So, for example, if we want to make a law pertaining to something in Tobago right now, so it does not affect Trinidad at all, we want to do something, for example, with Buko Reef, because we think that Buko Reef needs some kind of special law, does not affect Trinidad at all. Right now, we do not have the capacity to do that because of how the laws of Trinidad and Tobago and because of how the Tobago House of Assembly Act is set up. As a matter of fact, when I was in the minority at the end of that last year, there was a bill, a Tobago House of Assembly bill, that was sent to Trinidad that would have allowed the Tobago House of Assembly to make laws and do different things for things like marine parks, like Buko Reef, like Nylon Pool, and so forth. the PNM in Tobago sent that bill to the PNM in Trinidad, and it never even made it onto the parliament floor. Because for us to do something like that now, we needed it from cabinet to go to parliament. It never made it on the parliament floor. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure if the cabinet even ever discussed it. Again, PNM chain up money. PNM tie up money. Even among themselves, they're tying themselves up. We now have an opportunity to have real discussions. And by the way, the Prime Minister has made it very, very clear to the entire team that her team is willing to work with us to get the kind of autonomy that Tobago has been talking about. So I am actually really excited about this. Again, smart money, smart resources, because of that relationship that we are building.
Right. So going back now, when you spoke about the Tobago Development Fund and what it, you all are targeting these small and medium enterprises, etc. Let's talk about the Tobago people. I mean, so the Tobago people will hold, the THA accountable for just what happens in this fiscal year. If you were to speak directly to the people of Tobago right now, I mean, what would your advice to them be in terms of things to look out for to hold the THA accountable?
I would say, so the people on the island are already meeting us since the budget has been read, and they have already been telling us that they are excited. They are excited with the possibilities that this newfound money and newfound relationship will offer. They are very excited. By the way, they already are holding us accountable.
Right.
When I go to funerals, I am sitting there in Miss So-and-so funeral, and somebody sitting next to me is already whispering to me about something that we did or did not do. So we already have that kind of relationship with the people on the ground, where they are very frank and they are very open about what we've been doing that they like, about what we've been doing that they do not like. Believe me when I tell you, they give us the earful. And by the way, these are the same people we have to go to, our Tobago House of Assembly elections is due soon. These are the same people who I have to, when I go down the street, because I still live in the home that I grew up in the village that I grew up in the community that I am representing. When I walk down the street, I have to meet these people every single day. So they are already holding us accountable. And this election would also be a way for them to continue holding us accountable. It is probably in their benefit that we have an election right soon where they could say to us, all you've been behaving or all you've not been behaving, let us do something about it. So we are actually excited about that. And we will continue to have the public consultations. We will continue to have the interactions that we have been having with them so that they can hold us directly accountable for how we spend the money.
Yes. Well, Dr. Brevner, thank you so much for this conversation and taking the time to sit with me this morning. And I do, it's clear that all we can really do now is just observe and see how the money is spent, look at the developments that are to happen. And then hopefully we can have more conversations as to how things started rolling out and how it's working for the island, etc. But again, thank you.
Certainly, and thank you for having me on. Thank you. It's really an honor being able to explain to the people what we are doing and why we need your continued.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. I do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
So we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have more conversation in store. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The season of lights is bright and tasty with Royal Castle's delightful veggie burger made with a healthy and nutritious patty. It's great on its own or in a combo with one side and a 16-ounce drink. So whether it's lunch, dinner or a snack, Royal Castle's veggie burger fits right in with your fasting and festivities. Happy Diwali from Royal Castle.
Lighting up for Diwali just got simple with the easy-to-use Anand brand wax diyas. They're scientifically engineered to last longer, burn brighter, and keep on lighting. Anand brand wax diyas do not require any prepping or filling and has less spillage and cleanup. These diyas are recommended for outdoor use and can withstand light wind and rain. Plus, they're eco-friendly. Redeem your use cases for cash back. So put some green innovation into your Diwali celebrations with Anand brand wax diyas.
I have been shopping at Price Club from the beginning. I love most of all the friendliness of the staff.
I shop there because my children love meat and I love it.
My favorite section is the vegetarian section. They have such a wide variety, which I love.
I have been out shopping, to check out the prices, but here at the Lewis, it's the best.
I have tried other places and I came right back to Price Club because they are the low price leader.
In Hinduism, cow's milk is revered, and from the finest milk comes our ghee. When offered into the sacred fire, cow ghee carries our prayers to the deities, unlike processed vegetable ghee. From your devotion to your delicious dishes, you can trust Anchor Cow Brand Ghee. For all occasions, use the best ghee. Enjoy the best food and delicacies, and have the best Diwali with Anchor Cow Brand Ghee.
It's Diwali time again. Come to Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan for all your Diwali essentials. Get your clay diyas, cotton wicks, floating wicks, beautifully decorated imported diyas, and now in stock, our long-lasting, easy-lighting wax diyas. Fasting? We have frozen vegetarian meals, exciting Indian spices and grocery items, decorated mithai boxes, prasad bags, freshly ground elaichi powder, and paper sohari leaves. And don't forget our popular, tasty, mouth-watering mithai. We have simple Diwali puja guides on CD with a puja handout, and our helpful staff will assist you with all the required ingredients to perform your Diwali puja. Get great deals on lantern decorations, electric diya string lights, and happy Diwali decorations. Visit us at the corner of Watt Street, Kirep, or at St. Ives Street, Chaguanas, opposite the Charleville taxi stand, or call 663-6084. Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan. It's a family tradition serving the nation and Dharma. Lakshmi Mata's divine blessings to all. For your convenience, both branches are open on Sundays until Diwali.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport. It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Here is your WESN News on the hour. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Teen among 2 killed in Brasso shooting. Decomposing body found in Diego Martin Forest. CXC embraces AI in education with regional consultations. And internationally, NATO and EU strengthen defenses amid rising Russian provocations. Now for the details. 2 people, including a 16-year-old schoolboy, were gunned down early Wednesday morning in Brasso, just meters from the police station. Police say gunfire erupted around 2 a.m. along Caparo Valley Road, killing 21-year-old Christopher Joseph at the scene and 16-year-old Darius Shadrach while he was being taken to hospital. 2 others, 23-year-old Collie Joseph and 15-year-old Joel Ganesh, were also shot and remain hospitalized. Both teenagers attended Tabakit Composite School. Investigators believe the shooting may have been linked to a dispute over stolen drugs. After surveillance footage allegedly identified the victims. The latest double murder, along with another body found in Diego Martin, has pushed the national murder toll to 299 for the year. Soldiers on patrol in a forested area off North Post Road, Diego Martin, made a grim discovery Tuesday afternoon: the decomposing body of a man believed to be from Agostini Terrace. Police say the victim's hands were bound and a tie was fastened around his neck. He also appeared to have been shot in the head. Investigators suspect he was killed elsewhere and dumped in the area recently. Officers from the Western Division and Homicide Bureau processed the scene, and the body was taken to the Forensic Science Center for identification. The Caribbean Examinations Council says its regional stakeholder sessions on the responsible use of AI in education have been well received. Over 300 educators, students, and employers participated in recent discussions across Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and other territories. CXC Registrar Dr. Wayne Wesley says the initiative aims to promote ethical AI use and modernize assessment standards. The consultation series will end with a regional webinar on October 17th and a major education conference in Jamaica later this month, focused on navigating the digital age in teaching and learning. Internationally, NATO defense ministers are meeting in Brussels to address increasing Russian air incursions and drone activity near alliance borders. The talks come as the United States considers supplying long-range missiles to Ukraine. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says the alliance must bolster its eastern defenses and expand anti-drone capabilities. Meanwhile, the European Union is discussing plans for a drone wall to counter threats from Moscow, though some member states are cautious about overlapping NATO's role. The meetings highlight growing concerns that Russia is testing the West's resolve in the gray zone between peace and conflict. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi Macnish. Thanks for watching.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happening in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. You don't need. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
They believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
Welcome back to AM Prime this morning. So we are just going to get into some news updates. We were supposed to have another conversation this morning with a guest, but unfortunately that can't happen right now. The guest, we're not getting onto the guest. So I just have some updates for you all that we found recently. One of them would be the the U.S.-Venezuela issues. So on October 15th, President Trump confirmed that he authorized the CIA to carry out covert operations inside Venezuela. He said that there were two main motivations. One being allegations that Venezuela has emptied their prisons into the United States, including transferring people from insane asylums or mental institutions. And then the second one being that drug trafficking, that a lot of drugs are coming from Venezuela, especially by sea. So those are the two motivations for the U.S. authorizing CIA to enter Venezuela and carry out operations. He also indicated that the administration is looking at land operations, potentially inside Venezuela. He also refused to clarify whether the CIA has authority to target Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro directly. So that is something that we'd have to keep an eye on if we get updates on that. Some of the concerns that many people started to discuss after this was announced would be the legal authority and congressional oversight. So there's a debate over whether this constitutes an act of war and what legal authorities exist, whether Congress was informed, and there were also some arguments whether the move might lack transparency and sufficient oversight, which is common. This is nothing new, right? As even the targeting of the ships narco ships, or that they're claiming to be drug ships. The bombing of these things, and there's not much transparency involved there either. So the entire thing, the main part of the conversation is that there's not enough transparency, which is what people are continuing to debate about. Then there's also not enough evidence. The administration has released limited evidence publicly about some of these strikes, especially those on alleged drug smuggling vessels, which I just mentioned. There are also allegations. There are allegations with public verification. So, example, concrete evidence that these boats are carrying drugs. So there's not enough, or there's little to no evidence that these boats are carrying drugs. There's also the international law. Venezuela's government has condemned the action, saying it violates international law and the UN Charter. These are all things that are coming up in conversation that people are debating about, right? There's also the risk of escalation, because the CIA operations are covert and Trump is considering land operations. There's a risk of broader conflict. Also, the question of whether unlawful combat classification of drug cartels is lawful or sustainable under international and U.S. law. This is also under debate. So the main thing here, that we're seeing is the lack of transparency and whether or not this is lawful. But we'll keep a close eye and see what other updates come out of it. There's also the U.S. steps up diplomacy in Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda to combat narco-terrorists as well. So this is some more updates when it comes to what's happening there in the Caribbean Sea. There's been requests by Caribbean states for more U.S. help with requests by some of the Caribbean countries for more U.S. help with drug interdiction. So Antigua and Barbuda have formally asked for stronger cooperation with the U.S. to help intercept illegal drug flows through the region. During a high-level meeting in the Bahamas, Antigua and Barbuda stressed that much of the drug interdiction efforts involve shipments that originate in Latin America and are headed to the U.S., but they pass through the Caribbean maritime routes. So the government also flagged vulnerabilities, which would have been porous shores and many bays. So they're asking for the U.S. intervention at some of these on some of these shores and bays, which could be exploited by traffickers. They are seeking investment in coastal patrols, radar, better surveillance infrastructure, and U.S. support in screening cargo that comes in and out of these various locations. Then we're also seeing the U.S. has increased the naval deployments in the Caribbean Sea to intercept drug trafficking. Again, this is highlighting there was a recent, another bombing of a ship that targeted 6 people. More specifically, there's interest in establishing a temporary radar installation in Grenada, which we saw an update on that recently at Maurice Bishop International Airport to enhance detection and monitoring capabilities. So a lot of information is coming out about this entire issue with Venezuela, the United States, and then now the Caribbean. So it's not just Trinidad and Tobago, but the entire Caribbean is we can see, is becoming more involved in the issue. I wanted to talk about something closer to home, right? Tobago Carnival is coming up this upcoming week. It would begin from the 21st and end on the 26th of October. So there was an update about sailings and flights for Tobago Carnival. As you would have known, for a while now, many of these flights and sailings were completely sold out, and there was nobody can get across to Tobago after these flights. But additional sailings for Tobago Carnival has been opened up. Tobago Carnival is scheduled from the 24th to 26th, but as when we spoke to, he would have said that Tobago Carnival events are starting from the 21st, right? So we can definitely look at that. If you are going over to Tobago for Carnival this month, you can check online for these sailings as well as the flights, because very few have been opened up, but I believe it's there now. Next thing I want to discuss with you, something about, well, today is October 16, which is recognized as World Food Day by the United Nations. And it is a global observation. It's a day dedicated to highlighting one of humanity's most fundamental needs, which is food. This annual observation, held on October 16, was established in 1979 by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations to commemorate the organization's founding in 1945. World Food Day serves as a reminder of our collective responsibility to ensure that every person has access to safe, nutritious and sufficient food, while also celebrating the farmers, fishers, and producers who work tirelessly to feed the world. Each year, the FAO focuses on a theme that reflects current global challenges related to hunger, food security, and sustainability, encouraging action at every level from individuals to governments. I did want to highlight that I was trying to get somebody from the agricultural industry to come and speak about, just the importance of agriculture in a country and food security for the persons in that country. So that is something that will continue to work on, because I think that is a very important conversation to have. Also to discuss, the recent allocations from the budget to the agricultural sector. So I do have a quick video to play just to commemorate and highlight World Food Day. This is a video from the Food and Agriculture Organization's YouTube. So have a look.
What is food? Food is life. Food is memory, roots, land, and the knowledge of our ancestors. The wisdom passed down with every harvest. Food is innovation. Food is caring. It's connections. It's culture. It's the way we nurture each other. Food is a right, not a privilege. Everyone deserves safe, nutritious food. Food is our future on a plate. 80 years ago, the world set out to end hunger and malnutrition. 80 years ago, the world made a promise to grow, share, feed communities, and live better through food. But today, hunger persists in spite of the best efforts of farmers, women and men, youth, indigenous peoples, who work with courage and care. This World Food Day, let's walk forward. Hand in hand. Honoring traditions. Cultivating new ideas. Engaging in innovation. Feeding communities. Transforming how we grow. Nurturing and harvesting a better future. To leave no one behind. Every action, big or small, brings us closer to a better life. We each have a role to play. When we join together across borders, cultures, and generations, we are part of the solution. The future of food belongs to all of us. Hand in hand for better foods and a better future for everyone.
Lovely. So that was a video by the World Food Organization of the UN. So I found the article. I wanted to give some more context on the sailings for Tobago Carnival. The Port Authority has added these additional round trips on the TNT Spirit between the islands on October 22nd. So it will be available on October 22nd. This sailing is expected to depart Trinidad at 8:30 a.m. And depart while departing Tobago at 2 p.m. So the authority said sailings are available from Tobago from the 22nd to the 26th, with additional availability on October 29th. So these are dates that you can book your ferry or access to Tobago to and from around those dates. There's also sailings are available from October 25th to the 29th, as 4 of the inter-island vessels would operate outside the regular schedule. So the 25th to the 29th are additional as well, from the 22nd to the 26th. All right, so that brings us to the end of AM Prime this morning. I would just like to thank you for joining me on the program. I would also like to thank Dr. Faith Brebnor for joining me this morning and giving us that really, really insightful conversation on Tobago's allocation. And we do hope that they keep their word and the people of Tobago are allowed to hold them accountable for everything said and everything done or not done. I will leave you with this. The universe is full of magical things patiently waiting for our wits to grow. So you can definitely ponder on that. Sorry, I'll read it one more time. The universe is full of magical things patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper. That is a quote by Eden Phil Potts. So definitely think about that. Meditate on it, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, stay inspired, stay informed, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport. It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Diwali Passport, brought to you by Chatak Food Products and The Little Store Limited.
When it comes to Pera and Laddu, I just use Chatak's Laddu and Pera Mithai Mix. It's a combination of traditional ingredients in one pack. I don't spend all that time preparing different ingredients